Okay. Thank you, and thank you all for having me here this morning. A very interesting topic, and in the middle of a technology conference, it's more like talking philosophy out here. So bear with me on this, but I think it's a very important topic. For quite some time, right from the time man has existed, his search for meaning, and some of it has been really popularized. If we think of some of the books that we have read, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, or even Atul Gawande's Being Mortal. All of them talk of why meaning is very important to an individual. Simon Sinek, kind of made it very fashionable, I would say, from a corporation's perspective when he talked of the book Start with Why. Okay. So there's a lot of discussion around, purpose and why purpose is the central part of any organization. And the question is whether, passion drives purpose or purpose drives passion is immaterial in this discussion. Because I believe that once you have the purpose, then passion automatically kind of follows. So what I intend to do is I intend to talk a little bit about my journey in this direction, and how as Broadridge, we put this purpose, statement in place, and how we are trying to live up to that ideals. Before I start, I need to give my standard disclaimer, because these opinions are not necessarily that of Broadridge, but more mine. Because in case you guys don't like it, please don't sue my company. Please sue me. Okay. Now, that said, I just want to kind of focus for a minute on our purpose. We're talking about better financial lives and a better world. Okay. And I want to kind of share my journey on this particular purpose statement. Probably about maybe 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago, our current CEO, Tim Goki, at that time he was CEO of the organization, was looking to kind of draw the charter for the organization for the next probably 5-10 years or so. We called it Broadridge 3.0. As part of this journey, Tim wanted to make sure that as the organization grows and it will become a lot more global and more distributed, we wanted to make sure that people are connected and engaged, not just from a financial metrics perspective, but from a purpose perspective. So what Tim did was he put together a small team which helped him put together this purpose. And I had the privilege of being part of this team which put together this purpose. And when I reflect on this purpose, I think I can really, really connect to this very well. As a firm in the financial services space, in the capital markets function, what we do is we connect the shareholder with an investor. And nothing more powerful than doing that, because transparency is the bedrock of all corporate governance. And by providing transparent communication, we are enabling better investment decisions. So I was able to relate to this statement very well, because what we are doing is we are not just processing transactions, but we are in many ways enriching individuals' experience. So my journey on this has been about how do we create this purpose statement, and how do we make this a living thing rather than some statement on the wall. As we started this process, one of the things which I was very, very inspired by was the statement. I'll give you a minute to kind of reflect on the statement. The Bushmen in the Kalahari Desert talk of two hungers. There's a great hunger and there's a little hunger. The little hunger wants food for the belly, but the great hunger, the greatest hunger of all, is the hunger for meaning. I was extremely, extremely inspired by this quotation, or when I read about this. And from then on, it always struck me as to how do we balance the little hunger and the great hunger. Yeah. The little hunger is our, daily roti, kapda, makan kind of stuff. But as an organization, how do we, take care of the great hunger? And the remaining part of my talk is more about how organizations need to understand what the little hunger is and the great hunger is, and how do we need to align the organization, and how do we make it more sensitive to this, and in turn become more purposeful. So that's essentially what I intend to do. I'm trying to make it as interactive as possible. Obviously, in a virtual world, it's very difficult to be very interactive in this kind of a forum, but I look forward to the next 5-10 minutes discussion on this particular topic. So my goal here is to talk to you about my journey about how to build a purpose-driven organization, and indulge me for a minute when I talk through this. I want you to think about this for a moment, okay? So this is the Indian team, I believe, for the World Cup 2011. Imagine for a moment that at the last minute, Sachin Tendulkar was not available and you had to replace Sachin Tendulkar with Yusuf Pathan. Okay. What would you think? Would you say the team on the left-hand side equals to the team on the right-hand side, or the team on the left-hand side is not equal to the team on the right-hand side? Think about it for a moment. Think again. Let's say as an organization, we are putting together a project and we want to build a team. Okay. And again, we have a team resource A to resource K, and this is how typically we usually depict them in our Excel sheets. Obviously, there are some names to it, and resource A is not available, and now we have resource Z. What's your answer going to be? Are the two teams the same, equal to, or not equal to? I'll just give you a minute to kind of reflect on this particular two use cases, okay? And go to the next slide. So obviously, we all know that replacing Sachin Tendulkar with Yusuf Pathan is not the same team. Okay? And similarly, we all know that replacing resource A with resource Z is not the same team. But typically today, in most organizations, we still think in a mechanistic kind of a mode. What we think is that a resource A is easily replaceable by resource C. And that's why when we make our plans and we make our projections, okay, we assume that resources are fungible, and to some large extent they may be. The reality is, an organization is not mechanical. You cannot just replace one part with another, and the organization works the same. Organizations, in my opinion, are biological. They are living, in the sense that anytime there's any change, the whole organism changes. Okay, this I think is a very fundamental premise, and this is something we all need to reflect on, primarily because of the fact that if we don't accept that organizations are biological and living, that the tools that we use today to either design organizations or motivate people or engage in customers start to become mechanistic, and that truly does not bring out the human spirit of an organization. So I think one of the first fundamental things as leaders that we need to do in building a purpose-driven organization is to understand that organization is a living being and not a mechanical organization. Which brings down to my fundamental statement out here that businesses are deeply human institutions. I'd like to repeat that. Businesses are deeply human institutions. At the heart of every business today, especially in our sector, in the technology space, human being drives pretty much the creativity, the imagination, and the success of the company. So given that, an organization is biological and it's a living thing, and given that the fact that we have little hunger and the great hunger, what do humans want? As a human being, we look at something beyond economic self-interest. And from time immemorial, mankind, we have always been wanting to be part of a team, a tribe. Okay? As part of a tribe, we look for many things, and primarily two things. One is we want to be a tribe and part of a tribe that's going to succeed. In the case of an organization, we want the organization to succeed. And secondly, we want to feel proud to be part of that organization. Okay? These are extremely two important things beyond just economic self-interest. Okay? And this is going to be the fundamental building blocks for building an organization of purpose. So if you want an organization to succeed, we want to succeed too. This is essentially where we talk of the fact that I'm a part of a team. I need to make the team successful, in turn the organization successful. So probably in the good old days, you were part of a tribe, you went for a hunt, you wanted the hunt to be successful. Okay. In the evening when you came back, you wanted to celebrate as part of the tribe. And that's what being proud, to feel proud as part of the organization is all about. So I think these are the two fundamental building blocks of building an organization which is going to succeed and which somebody needs to want to feel proud of. Okay. So if this is what the human wants, so let's look at how the organization needs to respond to this. In order to design a purpose-driven organization which satisfies the two needs, one is the need of feeling of success and the need to feel proud. I think there are two very important things. We need to move from discussing about shareholder value to stakeholder value. It is very, very important. At Broadridge, one of our fundamental building blocks is what we call as a service profit chain. In a service profit chain, what we essentially say is an engaged associate delivers superior customer service, which in turn leads to superior products, which learns to superior sales, which learns to superior shareholder value. So it's a very connected kind of a chain. It's not disconnected. So the heart of it all is the engaged associate. Today, when we talk of metrics, by and large, most organizations talk of increasing shareholder value, whether it's increased revenue, profits, EPS, etc., etc. And in order to go to a purpose-driven organization, I think the focus needs to be on stakeholder value. So, definition to me of a great company is a company which provides more than average returns for its shareholder. A company which provides great product and service for its clients. A company which is a great place for work, a great place to work for its employees. And a company which is at the leading edge of technology in order to make the process more efficient. More importantly, it needs to be a very key member of the society that it operates in. So when I say stakeholder value, the stakeholder value is all about these 4 or 5 constituencies. It's about the shareholder, it's about the client, it's about the employee, it's about the society, and how do we bring it all together. So once you start to get that, then the idea of what a purpose is extremely very clear. The purpose is about increasing and improving shareholder value. More importantly, the purpose is about everybody in the organization being able to connect to that stakeholder value in their own way. Let me give you a small example. For example, let's say today I have a associate who works in the night shift. So we have a cab driver who drops her to the office. The cab driver can connect to the end purpose by asking why. I am picking up the associate why? In order for him to go to work. Why? In order for him to deliver to this customer. Why? In order for the customer to be able to send us the statements to investor. Why? In order for the investor to make a transparent decision. So that's how the why needs to happen, and that's how we need to be able to connect the purpose to every individual action in an organization. And the job of the leader today is to be able to make that connection, to be able to communicate that purpose in such a way that every associate in an organization is able to articulate it, is able to connect to it, is able to feel good about it. So how do you make this purpose statement stick? Okay, and we all talked about constant communication, etc. And I think again, we really think of it from a human perspective. I want to again, give you probably a time to think about this question. Okay, where were you on July 1 at 10 p.m.? Where were you on April 2nd, 2011 when India won the World Cup? Where were you on your last wedding anniversary? Think about it for a moment. It's a very important point I want to drive home is our memories are associated with emotional moments. So for example, I know, when India won the World Cup in 1983, I was at the MG Road, with 3 of my friends. I remember that. Okay. I remember what I ate for my last wedding anniversary. Okay. If you ask me what did I eat 3 weeks ago, I have no clue. So it's very important for us to understand that associating events with emotional content is one of the key ways that you can drive, engagement and purpose in communication. And why is that important in a current context? Okay. Since purpose is about making the emotional connection. So for example, let us say that I sent out a letter and the client liked it. Okay, and he responded back to me. I remember that for the rest of my life. That'll be part of my story. Okay. So that's where the emotional connection and the purpose comes out. Okay. Today, we remember situations. Okay. Situation is a combination of location and emotional factor. For example, you could have gone for a very nice dinner at a 5-star restaurant for your anniversary. Okay. It's not the location that matters, the event that matters. Okay, it's your anniversary, you're with your spouse. It's an enjoyable moment. It's an unforgettable and a memorable moment. Okay, it's a situation that generates the emotional connection. Okay, not the physical location. Why is it important today? Today, we are moving from what we call a kind of a physical located organization to a distributed organization. When you're in a distributed organization, your physical location no longer matters. For example, today at Broadridge, I say in India, we have 4,000 offices, not maybe 3 locations. Okay? When I have 4,000 offices or 4,000 physical locations, each person in that location is a leader by himself. Okay? And earlier today, we were always looking at making the physical connection, making the physical location a place where you could make the emotional connection. We bring people together, and then we would talk about the purpose, and people kind of feed off each other's energy. Okay. Today, you don't have the luxury of the physical location. So, as a leader today, when you don't have the physical location, how do you create situations? I'm not saying you manufacture situations. How do you be a lot more sensitive to situations and make the emotional connection via the situation? Okay. For example, is it possible for me to probably talk to my associate on a daily basis, not just about what project it is, what's the SLA, whether it's green, red, amber? Can I go beyond that? Can I get him to start to converse in a language where the purpose is integrated with his feelings? So I think this is one of the key things I would like to say, that let us remember it's about situations and not physical location. And let's make the communication about situations, and you'll find the emotional connect to the purpose. So, in summary, I want to talk of two things. I want us to understand that an organization is a living thing, it's a biological construct. The moment we accept that, we understand that the human being is a critical part of that. And more importantly, the, the only infinite resource that we have is infinite creativity of the human brain. Nothing else is an infinite resource. So that is fundamental one. The second thing is, it's not locational, but it is situational. Okay, we all are driven by situations, and situation is a combination of physical and many other factors. So the more we start to be aware of the other factors and use those other factors in communicating to the organization, we can make sure the purpose is eternal and it is lived on a day-to-day basis. In summary, the left is also Broadridge, the right is also Broadridge. Okay. Which one do you think is more appealing? I would say the right one, then the left. To me, that is the difference between shareholder value, stakeholder value, and purpose. So thank you for your time. I really enjoyed the journey in building up the purpose statement for Broadridge with many of my senior colleagues. It has been a fascinating journey for me and a great learning. But I believe at the heart of it all is understanding the human spirit. Okay, understanding that for us, meaning is more important than anything else. Okay. There's a lot of talk about happiness. In my opinion, if we have meaning, we start to become a lot more happy, primarily because we find that we belong, and we belong to a tribe, we belong to a society. There's some shared feeling of achievement, and once you have that, you're neither happy nor unhappy. You're in a state where you're in a constant source of achievement and pride, and that itself brings in the passion, that itself brings in the belonging. So a tribute to the human spirit, and as to how we are. I look forward to many more organizations crossing that chasm between shareholder value and stakeholder value. So thank you very much.